Can you hear me? Oh yeah, it's good. All right, so Saturday, August 3rd, I think it's like 102 or something. I don't know, it's hot and miserable, but as you guys know, I'm kind of into the off-road thing too. So I'm doing this project. I'm going to build a new Ultra 4 style car. This one's going to be independent front suspension. I got with Jason at DIY Off-Road and got all the files from him. It's a massive, massive undertaking. I several sheets of plate and hours of cutting and just the time just to nest all the DXFs really surprised me. Like there's just so many pieces and it's such a big assembly. So, but I figured today I finally, I purchased some of these parts back in February. So I sneaked a little picture on one of my Instagram things of the center diff. And I've had these files for a while. And as I've been doing this and doing that, I've been putting DXFs in. I'll spend a couple hours here and there at nighttime, you know, after work and after dinner, just kind of playing around getting DXFs. And so I finally got to a spot this week where we were able to build the fixture, put it on the table and lay it all out. So I'm actually here welding it together right now. So I've actually got some stuff. So I figured I would make a totally different YouTube video than what I usually make. But I'm going to have a few little welding tricks, a cool ass Papper helmet that I actually have two of them, but we bought them last year for doing a big MIG welding project. So I'm going to show you some cool pieces of that. It really helps, really helps when it's this hot. So yeah, let's go check it out. So let's just walk over. Look at some parts. So look at how massive this whole fixture apparatus is for putting this front suspension together. So there's the center section from Spider Tracks, the little mini narrow diff, all thread, all this plate work for just holding this stuff together. Had to make all these spacers right here to get this spacing right. So Jason made me all these files and made it possible for me to put this thing together, because you can see that there's some rake in this front end. You got to hold the diff at the right angle. So I'm just going to be welding together all these pieces. Like there's bends and slots and cuts, and there's just so much. There's so much to this front end. It's incredible. And so then you go all the way to the back, and then this holds. Here's the rear. This is the rear 4-link bracket. So 3 upper holes for moving around some anti-squat. There's the lower hole, 1/4-inch plate, doubler. Like this thing probably weighs like 30 pounds. So then it bolts to this guy, and then there's a whole sheet metal Y-frame that runs through here. Actually, these tubes right here will be inside of that Y-frame and go through there. So this thing will be 125-inch wheelbase. I think it targets right at 28 inches of travel on the back and 20 inches of travel on the front of 4-wheel drive goodness. So here you go. Got a couple pieces started here. This hood is rad. So one of these Miller Papper hoods. It's got this whole like sealed in system. You like wrap it around your face, comes over the back of you, stops sparks from getting in the back of your head. Got this pressurized deal right here. Oh, you can hear the wind coming out of it. So that thing clicks in here, right there, and then it just a nice fresh air going on in the top of your head and on your face. So this thing's got some sort of HEPA filter thing in it. It's supposed to. You could get all the information. It's a Miller Papper. So if you want to go and look at that, we got 2 of these things last year because we were just doing this huge project with my homie John, and huge project. I mean, I think we burned 300 pounds of MIG wire. So how long does it take you to burn a 30-pound spool? Well, we burned 10 of them in 5 weeks. So it was a big ass project. So yeah, so here we go. So I'm just going to set this thing on time lapse and just start welding away. And once this fixture, or once all this stuff is built and welded together and it's done, then that'll be when I post this video. So 2-3 weeks maybe. I guess we'll see. microphones, yep. All right, so finally committed, welded the diff in. I meant to take a little bit, I wanted to explain that a little bit, but so basically this car, the front suspension is independent, rear suspension is a solid axle, but the engine is in the back. It's technically a mid-engine car because the rear axle is still in front of the crankshaft, well, behind the crankshaft technically. So the engine's technically in the middle. So, but since the engine is on the other side of the vertical parallel, or the vertical plane in the center of the car, it means everything has to spin the opposite direction. So all of your input rotation is backwards. So this front differential is actually in there upside down compared to what it would normally look like if you were looking at it. So same goes with the rear end. So the rear end gets put together where the pumpkin is in upside down. So the front end will have a 10-inch ring and pinion in it, standard rotation, but it'll be, the pinion will be high because it's upside down, if that makes sense. So the back is actually going to end up being a high pinion reverse rotation that goes in upside down as well, which ends up making it a low pinion, but the rotation of the gear set is better when you're doing all this stuff. So yeah, so I'm going to take another little video. Hopefully that it's a somewhat reasonable explanation, but yeah, there's quite a bit that goes into making a car like this. So it's fun. It's definitely fun, a good challenge. So let's check out what we got going on. All right, so if you're a savvy rear end guy, you'll notice that the pinion is on the wrong side, or the ring gear is on the wrong side, right? And so even the little Spider Tracks logo on the front is upside down. So there you go. Like, this is committed. This thing is welded in across the bottom. There's so much weld on this thing. I like TIG welding stuff, but there's just such a ridiculous amount of welds to put this thing together. And the amount of abuse that it's going to see, and just all the dirt and the gear oil and just all the nonsense. So yeah, there you go. So another little update on this thing. I'm going to put the rest of this thing together right now. It's about 4:45 in the afternoon, so I want to get these pieces tacked into the jig, and now that the differential is welded in there, so I'll just keep on going. Here you go. So after that time-lapse video is like 2.5 minutes long of struggling to put this whole thing together, it interlocks so cool. Like, it is such a neat piece. I'm super glad that I bought this instead of trying to figure this out myself. So I am convinced that there's no way. Like, I would have had to have tried so many times, it would have never made any sense. So to clarify, I got this from Jason over at DIY Marketplaces, or DIY Off-Road. So I don't know how many of these all-wheel drive bulkheads exist, but there's one right here, and it goes together, and it's super cool. Like, it's really bitchin'. Like, it's hard to put together, but it's badass once you see it all as one piece. So this thing is, I wanted to double check a few measurements. Like I said, that weld that was in there, I already got that one done. And as you can see, there's no getting back in there. So that is, this differential is part of this assembly. So if something bad happens to it, I don't know. I guess you just cut the whole front end off. This is the ultimate race car. Non-serviceable equipment. It's awesome. So somehow a Howell 3-inch Ram trophy truck steering box, not box, but steering rack fits in there. I'll be interested to see that in there. But you can see, like, all the upper control arm tabs land on the diff. It's all a part of it. Like, this is impressive. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of thought that went into this thing. So Check, check, boot. All right. So I feel like I ended off my last video where I said I was going to finish that video, but since then we got the Y-frame assembled. This is rad. So I got the bulkhead all set up. Differential is in there for good. Lots and lots and lots of MIG welding. Got my table all lubed up. This Y-frame just all clicks together. Massive amounts of welding. It fit right up. Jason just killed these drawings. He killed this whole setup. Like it is so rad. Like can't even begin to say thanks enough to this guy for getting this. I've always dreamed of building one of these rear or mid-engine all-wheel drive cars ever since I've been into off-roading. You know, it's just, I don't know why I'm so pumped on it, but I'm just super pumped on it. So it's such an outside of the box. Maybe it's not, because there's all kinds of these cars exist, but I don't have one. I've never built one, and I always like the challenge. Like, to me, engineering, building, fabricating, it's all about the challenge, the fun, the icing on the cake is going to get to use the vehicle. But I truthfully enjoy building stuff probably as much as I enjoy using this stuff. So this to me is just like another notch in the belt. Like what else can you learn? Like this pumpkin's in there upside down, right? Because you flipped the engine. The engine's in the opposite direction, so the crankshaft's spinning in the opposite direction in relationship to which direction the vehicle's turning, right? Remember, the crankshaft sticks out the front, it goes forward. Well, if the crankshaft sticks out the back, you have three. If you put the differentials in the same way, you'd have 3 reverse gears, 1 forward gear, right? So it's all stuff, like, not that everybody hasn't already figured it out, but it's cool to do it yourself. So, all right, I'm going to set this thing up on a time lapse, and I'm going to get about 2 hours of welding in before we go and go in the pool, because that sounds way better because it's like 95 today. So, all right. All right, I'm back. I realized I was looking at some videos. August 3rd is kind of when I started making these new buggy videos, and it's now September 2nd. So it's been almost a month, and I figured I was trying to do this video as a, just in sections, but you know what? I'm just going to do it as however much I get done, and then I'm going to put it all together, and if it hopefully looks cool. So, yeah, it is September 2nd. It is high heat advisory all this week, so I figured, it's Labor Day, so I figured why not go do some welding, because it's 100 plus outside, so let's weld. That makes sense, right? All right, so I'm going to turn this thing around, and let's check some stuff out. Welding out all this stuff. So here's a lower control arm tacked together, all ready to go. There's the steering adapter. The Y-frame is sitting right there, taking up massive amounts of space. Trailing arm, a little more welding to do on that guy. Here's an upper arm. Here's a spindle upright. I got the faceplate of the rear end housing going on here. This is all the stuff is cut out and ready to go for this. Here is another upper arm that has its uniball cup in it. Trailing arm. Upper links for the rear, and then the other lower control arm. So here's a Makita grinder in comparison to this lower control arm. Just to give you an idea of, and that doesn't have its rod ends in it, and it doesn't have its uniball cup on it. So this thing is, it's massive. So imagine that the track width on it is, the wheel mount surface is 81 inches is what the wheel mount surface is. So that gives you an idea of how just absolutely monstrous of a machine this thing is going to be. So 125 inch wheelbase, and the wheel mount surface is 81 inches. So it's almost a square. So I'm going to set this thing up, do a little more welding. My goal today is to weld out both lower control arms, finish the weld out on that trailing arm, and then put the uniball cup on this guy. And then we're having everybody's coming over. My brother and the kids are coming over. We're going in the pool. So that sounds like more fun than this, but this will never get done if we don't do it. So, okay, there's my update.